Hi friends, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Wednesday everyone, and welcome back to the studio. Today we are going to be doing a time-lapse demo of a beautiful seashell, but don't you worry yourself, it is not going to be moving too fast that you can't catch on to what is going on. And always remember that you can use the gear icon that's located at the top right or either the bottom right corner of your video player, and it will allow you to control the playback speed so you can have it move at whatever speed that you would like to. Now I'm going to be using some rather economical supplies in today's video. I'm using the Hemi 24 count set of watercolors, which is a very affordable student grade set of paints that are pretty bright and vibrant, and actually a little goes a really long way based on their formula. Now I am painting on Michael's Artist Loft Level 2 Artist watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds. It's cold pressed, it's acid free, and it's a really decent student grade kind of study practice watercolor paper. Kind of puts you in the mind of Canson XL, so to speak, just so you'll know the type of products that I'm using. Now we are still dab smack in the middle of Thrifty Cheap Art Challenge, which is a challenge that runs throughout the month of September. There are 15 prompts, basically giving you 2 days per prompt in order to complete whatever creation you want. You can do what you want, you can use whatever medium you want, and then you would simply submit that creation over on Instagram using hashtag #ThriftyCheapArt2025, and don't forget to tag your boy Thrifty Apprentice in that post so that I can keep track of your post, and each post will count as one submission into the prize drawing. So there's 15 prompts, which means that you have a chance to get 15 entries, even if you started right now. Now you can check out the Thrifty Apprentice Instagram page for all information. Don't forget to follow me while you're over there, guys. Or you can check out the Defyantarts website, which will go into the same exact in-depth information on the Cheap Art Challenge. For all of you guys who've participated up until this point, I am so excited. I've been seeing all of your artwork. It all looks really amazing. And don't you worry yourself, I have counted every single submission so that you will have an entry into the grand prize package, which I can't wait to give away to somebody. Without further ado, we're gonna head over to the art desk. Let's get to painting. So friends, let's jump into getting this particular painting done. We're gonna start off with the base layer, and I'm just gonna use artist color names just in case you're using a watercolor set that's different from mine. You can kind of gauge what colors you may want to use. So I'm gonna start off with a base layer of sort of a peachy color, and I actually mixed this from a violet or a purple along with a magenta leaning red and just a touch of the yellow ochre. Watered it down a lot, and I mixed those back and forth until I got a peachy color. Watered it down, and then I used a synthetic squirrel brush to paint in the first layer. Now you saw me take a paper towel and pull a little color out of the middle. Now what I'm doing is trying to add some roundness to the shell. And you're gonna see me kind of hem and haw back and forth to try to remove some hard lines in that first layer that I saw forming. And that is due to the type of paper that I'm painting on, but these are budget supplies, so I was expecting that going into the creation process. Now what I'm going to do is mix up my darkest color. So the idea here is that I went in with the lightest wash. My second layer will actually be my darkest color. And I'm going to do that so that I'm then able to gauge the color range for the midtones as I move on. Now my hand is in the way here, but what I'm doing is actually putting in those little the little texture, the little shape that's sort of around this particular type of shell. Sometimes it's jagged, sometimes it's sharp, sometimes it's smooth. But it's also going to help to start to lay down the directional linear lines that will give you the appearance of those kind of divots or indents that are in the shell. So I'm just going to take my time and go around the shell to get that part kind of put in. And I'm using a smaller brush. I think it's like a number 2, number 3. It's still saying, no, it's nylon, because I wanted it to hold less water. And I'm just defining the outside of the shell and then the very bottom of the shell. Now, using that same dark mixture, looking back and forth at a couple of reference photos, because I did kind of pull this imagery from 2 or 3 reference photos, I'm going to just start to basically paint what I see. I noticed that there is a much darker sort of semi-ring at the bottom, so I'm going to put that in. Then using the same color, I'm going to go back and put in another semi-ring that's closer to the middle of the shell itself. And I'm just taking my time and just making zigzag lines. This is not me actually precisely painting anything. I'm just kind of hinting at what I see because I know there's going to be a lot of layers put on. Now I'm mixing a little bit more yellow ochre into that darker color, adding a little water to it, and that is going to help me keep color harmony by using the same colors, but add a different variation of that color in. And now I'm going to put that in just above the darkest sort of semicircle or semi-half circle on the bottom, because that's where I see it at in my reference photo. And then that same color sort of cups the bottom part of the shell, so I'm going to put it there as well. And then I'll also start adding in some more of those linear lines that are going to kind of help with the overall final detail of everything. As I told you guys earlier, this is one of the prompts from Thrifty Cheap Art Challenge. It's shell, although I know we're far into the month at this point. I happened to turn the camera on back when I was doing this particular illustration to record it because I know I was going to want to share it with you guys. So you could really do any variation of a shell that you want. It's just my hope that this is offering some inspiration to you in some shape, form, or fashion. It's not something hard or complicated at all. It's actually something that I feel is super easy to achieve, and I think that any artist of any level could do this. A beginner would pull it off and feel accomplished, and an experienced artist could pull it off as a beginner painting or something for practice to get them jump started with a day of creating and painting. Now, at this point, you see me working on the shadow, and I'm actually putting the shadow in before I do the background. I don't normally do it that way, but I felt like it would be nice to kind of experiment with that this time. So I'm using a nylon brush. It's got like a number 2 or 3 head on it. It's round, and it comes to a really nice point. I mix my ultramarine along with my burnt sienna, a little bit of burnt umber in it in order to get a cooler shadow color. And I'm just going in and working that around the front part of the shell. So I'm assuming that my light would be coming from the left side of my painting towards the top. So my shadow would be sort of emanating off of the front side of the shell. And I'm just using a lot of water here in order to, bring that shadow on out. And later on, I'm going to go back in with a darker saturated color to add directly under the shell. So you will see a heavier shadow where the shell would actually be touching the sand. And don't worry, we're going to get to painting a background in just a moment. But at this very second, I'm still working out the different areas where you would be able to see shadow. Because here towards the back, you would see shadow because that shell is sort of lifted off the ground just a bit. So again, I'm diffusing that shadow as it moves away from the shell. And then once that dries, I'll go back in and I'm going to put in darker saturation right up under the shell where it touches the sand. Speaking of, let's jump into doing the background. I switched over to a synthetic squirrel round number 12, number 14 brush that was going to hold a lot of water. And then using clean water, I am just wetting my background. Now, what you want here is a sheen, not puddles. You just want to see a glistening of water across your paper surface, but you don't want it to puddle up anywhere. Because again, we're working on a budget cellulose paper, and I'm going to try my best to prevent hard lines, back runs, cauliflowers, blooming, whatever you want to call it, as much as I possibly can. Now with yellow ochre, I'm going in and I'm coating the entire background in a really watery wash, which will have quite a bit of shift to it. You're going to see that I took that wash all the way up to the edge of my shell, which is going to cover the original shadow that I put down. But that's okay. I'm not really worried. We can enhance that later on if we need to. Now, I'm going to also sprinkle colors, or splatter colors, should I say, in the background. This is going to help me build a sandy texture up under the shell. And at this point, any colors that you've already used in the shell are complete free game. You can splatter away. It's going to maintain color harmony because you are using things that you've used already. So I'm putting in many different colors. I put in the magenta I used. I put in yellow ochre. I put in burnt sienna. I sprinkled in even a little of that really dark burgundy, color that I originally mixed in order to put in the darker saturation on the shell. So as I was saying, any of the colors that you used before are free game here. Now it's time to go in and work on the midtones, because I have my lights, I have my darks, I have my background. Now I can gauge exactly how I want the midtones to look. So using that same magenta from before with just a little bit of yellow ochre in it, again keeping that color harmony, more magenta than yellow ochre, I'm going to go in and start to paint those areas of the shell that I feel have a little bit more saturation, lay down those midtones, but I'm being sure not to cover up all of the base color that we put down. You want all of those colors to kind of show through each other and build on each other, because that's what's going to help give the shell a little bit more realistic-ish feel. Realistic-ish. Keep that in mind. And then I'm still going in with those linear lines. I added in just, regular yellow ochre in certain spots just to warm the shell up in those areas that I could see in the reference photo. I'm going in and I'm making sure to use that darker color I mixed, because I want to keep my darks. If I feel like I'm losing a dark anywhere, I go back in and I enhance it. I redefine the shell. I make sure that I don't lose my lines, because I don't want to have to do too much work to finish up in the end, because we are definitely wrapping this up at this point. That darker color, I'm adding in more linear lines, and I'm just continuing to build. Now, using a really transparent watercolor would be a great idea with this. If you have Melian Pretty Excellent paints, those would be wonderful to do this with. This Hemi set is really good to do it with. Just any of your budget paints that may be transparent. So as I enter the home stretch here, in order to wrap everything up, I'm once again splattering paint into the background to build on that sand texture. And of course, with all these different colors, the sand is colorful and kind of rainbowy, and I love that. Doing it on dry paper this time versus the wet wash we did earlier is going to make those splatters stand out even more and build a second layer on top of the original diffused shadows that we had. I'm also going in at this point and re-enhancing that shadow. I am making it just a little bit bigger, just so that it gives the shell a little bit more of a 3D feel, sort of lifted up off of the sand. And finally, I'm going in with my highlights. Now, this is my Mitsubishi Uniball Signal white gel pen. Absolutely love it. My favorite white gel pen, the only one I don't have significant trouble with. Although I'm pretty sure there are many, many great other ones on the market, this is just the one that has never let me down, so I continue to use it and I love it. And basically, I'm using it to just go in and put highlights in on any of those areas, the ridges that I feel would be raised. I'm splattering a little bit in the background for color harmony and to kind of make it look like maybe some light is hitting little pieces of sand. And that pretty much wrapped everything up. I'm throwing in a black line to offset against the white border from taping down your paper. I love to do that. I'm using an alcohol marker. If you decide to do this, you use whatever it is that you would like to. You don't have to use alcohol markers. But I'm actually using Thrifty Cheap Art Challenge as a time to practice on a lot of different things. And I'm also kind of experimenting with this art journal slash journal. So this is one of my custom handmade sketchbooks, as most of you already know. So what I'm doing throughout Cheap Art Challenge is I'm going to do my illustration at the top of the page, and then I'm using the same black marker that I do my outlining with in order to turn the bottom part of that page literally into journaling space where I would write something. So this becomes essentially a art journal. The difference is it's not like your typical art journal, but a journal where you have actual art that's painted and created, and then information about the day it was done, the products that was used, and how the artist felt at the time of completion kind of written up under it. Just so as I go back and flip through this, you know, months, years, whatever down the line, I can see the headspace that I was in when I was creating it, and I can also refer back to the products that I used. So at this point, I'm going to remove my bull clip, finish up all of my lines, and then start to remove the masking tape. And that way, or should I say in this case, it was washi tape that I used to tape down my paper. I didn't use masking tape. So yeah, I'm just going to get all of that, you know, inked in. You'll see me remove the washi tape, and then you'll get to see the area of how I sort of turned this into a quote unquote art journaling page. And then I'm going to go back later on and fill in everything. That's it, friends. I'm going to see you on the other side of all of this right after I sign my name on the image, because yeah, that's what I do. All right, see you on the other side, friends. So friends, there you have it, a really whimsical and hopefully what you consider beautiful seashell. It was so much fun for me to share this demo with you, and I really hope that you give this a try. Now guys, don't forget that if you saw anything you like, heard anything you like, enjoyed the demo, go ahead and sprinkle a little love on the channel by giving it a thumbs up. You can also share the video. Remember that sharing is caring, and it's definitely going to help get it out in front of other wonderful artists just like yourself. Plus, we need to nudge this algorithm to share the videos just a little bit more. Now, if you're new to the channel or you're returning and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and consider hitting that subscription button as well as the notification bell so that you'll know when we go live and when we upload. The comment section is open. By all means, jump in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of today's video, what you thought of today's painting. If you have any questions, you can post them there, and I'm definitely going to get to answering those questions as soon as I possibly can. Don't you worry. And last but not least, check the video description. It's going to have all of the relevant links. It'll have the Defiant Art website, as I mentioned earlier in the video, where you can find many details on the current running Thrifty Cheap Art Challenge. It's going to have all of the links for the social sites, so definitely consider giving your boy a follow over on Instagram as well as Facebook. You're welcome to Paints, Pencils, Pastels, and Markers, which is the Thrifty Apprentice sponsored Facebook group where artists of all levels, regardless of the medium that you use, are welcome. And don't you worry, we definitely demand that all artists show respect to each other in that group. You can check out the Patreon link if you're interested in joining the Thrifty Apprentice Patreon community. The Creation Station is full of wonderful videos, 2 lives, pre-recorded videos, giveaways, traceables. So definitely go check that out. There are the links for the most recommended product list as well as the artist wish list in case you decide you ever want to support the channel in that particular way. Until next time, remember, as I tell you guys at the end of every single video, just keep creating, my friends.